I cried last week. I saw a young mum and she was desperate and she was hungry and she had no money. She was waiting in a food bank and she opened a tin of beans and she ate the beans straight from the tin. Now, if this scene sounds familiar, it's because it's from the film I, Daniel Blake by Ken Loach. I don't know if you've seen it before, but it's about two people, Katie and Daniel, who are both, well, down on their luck. Daniel's lost his wife a couple of years ago and he's had a massive heart attack and he can't work. Katie is a homeless single mum who's been rehoused to Newcastle from London. She's just had all her benefits stopped, so they've been sanctioned because she couldn't find where the benefits office was. So neither of them have got any money. So I sat there in a row, several of us, snivelling away at a made-up story acted by actors. But sadly, it's not a made-up problem, and Katie's story isn't uncommon. Over 250,000 people each year are sanctioned. They have their benefits stopped. They face a month without income to pay for food or for heating or for clothes, and 85,000 children are in families affected by this. Watching the film made me and so many other people cry. But how is it that we can cry at a film like this, but live in a society that thinks it's acceptable to treat people in this way? I work for the Joint Public Issues team, which helps the Methodist Church, along with the Baptist Union, the United Reformed Church and the Church of Scotland, to speak out on issues of justice and peace. A few years ago, we found an increasing number of people were coming to us. They worked in food banks and they said they were seeing more and more people who were turning up hungry because they'd had their benefits stopped. So we did a bit of research. We dug around, we wrestled with the Department of Work and Pensions, and eventually we launched a campaign called Rethink Sanctions, which got some people very excited and some people rather upset. Our conclusion was that the sanctions system could only have been created by people who felt that those who were poor, those who were on benefits, needed to be punished in order to be able to be behaving. This is such a long way from the reality of poverty. The reality where people are in insecure jobs, or they're sick, or they're looking after children. Where people have to choose between eating and heating. Where a mum has to say to her child that he can't go to his friend's birthday party because they can't afford a present. Where families can be completely thrown off balance by an emergency, a fridge breaking down, children's feet growing too fast, or a landlord deciding to raise the rent and they don't have any resources to fall back on. John Wesley, who was one of the founders of Methodism in the 18th century, said that one great reason why the rich in general have so little sympathy for the poor is because they so seldom visit them. And today we might say that people who are able to make the decisions about people's lives haven't got a clue what it's like to live in poverty. And that's why the Church of Scotland set up the Poverty Truth Commission. Now, the Poverty Truth Commission has two sets of commissioners. One group of people are the decision makers, the powerful people within a community, the judges, the police, the politicians. And the other group are the poverty experts, the people who know from personal experience what it means to live in poverty. Titles are left at the door. Everyone's got skills and experience that they can share. The belief is that we're never going to be able to sort out poverty if we don't actually listen and understand to what it really means to people's everyday lives. And if the people who are poor don't actually have a say in shaping the solution. Together, the Commission has worked to look at issues like sanctions and why it costs so much more to live in poverty. The motto of the Commission is "Nothing about us without us come before us." So if you're making decisions and you don't understand what our life is like, how can those decisions be in our favour? The motto comes from post-apartheid South Africa, And it also works really well for youth participation. Nothing about us without us is for us. I'd like to finish by returning once again to the cinema. Have you ever heard of the Bechdel test? It's a test of a film. Do you have two named women talking to each other about something other than a man? It's amazing the number of famous films that fail this test. Women only talk to men, or they only talk about men. But I'd like to challenge you to have your own Bechdel test. At a Methodist event, at 3Generate, or a church meeting, or at Methodist conference, will a young person stand up and talk about something that isn't about young people? Of course, you do need to talk about young people, but how about also talking about young people's concerns for justice, for people who aren't being heard, for people who need justice? How about standing up for people, not speaking for them, but making space so that their needs for justice can be heard?